I want to show you something really quick. This thing right here cost under 25 bucks at Harbor Freight. And I generally believe if you own a classic car and you don't have one of these, you're just guessing every time you go and turn a wrench on that engine. You're just guessing. And today I'm going to show you exactly why that needs to change. So here's the thing. When most guys talk about classic car tools, they talk about timing lights, socket sets, torque wrenches. And yeah, those things do matter, but there's one tool that gets consistently overlooked. And it's one that would save us a lot of time if we had just started using it earlier. It's called the vacuum gauge. It tells you exactly what is wrong with your engine before you even touch a wrench. You know, it's kind of like a doctor taking blood pressure. You know, the engine is talking to you constantly, and this tool lets you hear exactly what it is saying. Dennis, vacuum gauges for old school mechanics. Even though my car doesn't have a computer, I can tell when it's running well. Well, you're kind of right. Exactly why this matters even more on your car is because on a computer car, like my '89 BMW, you know, I can get error codes that point me in a direction to actually be able to diagnose the car. My Charger doesn't do that. So what are we actually looking for here? A vacuum gauge is just a simple dial gauge that reads intake manifold vacuum. That's kind of what that is. The needle goes over. You hook it up to a vacuum port, intake manifold, brake booster, carburetor on most classic Mopars. Actually, most classic cars. And it gives you a reading in inches of mercury, and that's it. Simple. You can get a decent one between 20 and 40 bucks. I've got this Penske unit from Sears I've had for decades. It's solid, reliable, nothing fancy. And if you don't own one, heck, you can go to Harbor Freight and pick up one from Pittsburgh. It comes in a case. Look at this thing right here. And that's under $20. The tool itself is not the point. It's how to use it. That's the point. And here's what I mean. This one gauge can tell you everything about your carburetor, your ignition timing, your valve seals, your rings, your intake gaskets, your EGR valve, PCV valve, all from one hookup without taking anything apart. That's the whole game right there. All right, so let's get into it. On most classic Mopars, you know, your 318, slant, 340, 440, you've got a vacuum port right at the base of the carb. And it depends on which carb it is, where that is. Now, you also have one on the power brake booster, the T, and there's usually a port on the intake manifold. Now, what you want is manifold vacuum, not ported vacuum. Important distinction, and I'll explain that in a second. So you pull off one of those vacuum lines, hook up the gauge in line, and the engine is warmed up fully. You're taking a fully warmed up reading. You know, not idling for a few minutes, actually running it and getting it up to temperature. And then you take your reading. Generally, it's just a 15-minute job. Now, manifold vacuum versus ported vacuum. Okay, manifold vacuum is live at idle. It's live all the time. And it just changes with RPM. Now, this is what you want for diagnostics. Now, ported vacuum, that's what, you know, Vacuum Advance on distributors after 1965 run on. It basically comes in, it is way above idle. You start getting vacuum from this port because it is taking from below the blades. So it starts actually coming in as the blades open. Most of the big ports in the carb base are manifold vacuum. If you're not sure, check with a little piece of paper near the port at idle. If you feel suction immediately, that's manifold vacuum. Or if you take the line off and the idle increases, also manifold vacuum. So when your engine's warmed up, you've got the gauge connected. Here's what you're looking for on a healthy classic V8 or even slant. Your typical Mopar, LA, RB, B engine, you want to see a steady reading somewhere between 17 and 21. Now, hotter cams will have lower vacuum by nature because of overlap. But on a normal engine that isn't, you know, hot rod, especially more stock, you'll have 17 to 21 inches. Steady. Now, that's no bouncing. It is just pure steady. And that word steady is doing a lot of work here, because the behavior of the needle, this thing here, tells you as much as the number itself. A strong, steady reading, engine's completely healthy. Good compression, your timing is pretty good, at least base timing. The carb is set up properly. Everything's really good. Now here's where it gets interesting, because when something is wrong, this needle starts telling you stories. Now, a low, steady reading, like 12 to 15 inches, two things. A, it could be a lot of cam, especially if you have a lot of overlap, you're going to have low vacuum. But if that isn't the case, this is dealing with the ignition timing. Your timing's retarded. And that's where most guys start swapping out carburetors, and when all you needed to do is just advance the timing just a slight bit, maybe 2 to 4 degrees, because you always do it in twos. And I've seen that a bunch of times. The carb gets rebuilt, timing never gets checked, has low vacuum, steady timing. Needle floating back and forth slowly, like a lazy wave, like this. That's a carburetor air fuel problem. Could be a needle and seat issue where they're sticking or wide open. Could be a lean condition. Could be a float level problem. The carb isn't delivering a consistent mixture. The lazy float is hunting for idle mixture. Now, I've had this one. The needle bouncing forth rapidly at idle. This is valve train. 100% valve train. Sticking valves, weak valve springs, a port vacuum leak, or burned valve. The needle will flick every time the event happens. It's consistent and it's rapid. You've likely got a specific cylinder with a problem. First, you do the vacuum test, run a compression test. If you have an inspection camera, put it in every cylinder. You've just narrowed down your diagnosis to one cylinder without pulling the head. Now, if your reading drops sharply and recovers when you blip the throttle, that's completely normal. Your engine actually loses vacuum when you give wide open throttle. That's just normal. That's why on the Chryslers they have the air cleaner that has the door that opens when there's no vacuum, giving it fresh air. It's like a little trapdoor one. Here it is right here. See? And look, on a Mopar 440, these big blocks have their own characteristics. Sort of, kind of. A 440 with good cam timing, compression, should be in the 17 to 19 range. Especially if in the HP, it'll be a little bit on the lower side. And now a regular one could be way up on the 21. And if you're seeing the 13 to 14 on a 440, it should be running a lot stronger than that. Something's off. Now start with timing before you touch anything else. Hey, real quick, if you're getting any value out of this, drop a thumbs up on the video. Helps this channel a lot. If you want, and I want to know what type of content you like, that you're finding useful, just drop that in the comments below, please. More of this is coming, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my charger. So let me tell you about my 72 charger. I had a problem where above 4,000 RPM, the engine just ran out of steam. And it happened in this video when I did a dyno test. It just hit a wall. Under $4,000, it was fine. It idled perfectly fine, drove around town perfectly fine. It pulled decent, had decent sound, but the minute you got onto it hard, it had nothing. The power just went off. So I hooked up a vacuum gauge. Now the needle wasn't floating. It wasn't sitting low and steady. It was jumping, like from 10 to 20, back and forth, really, really quick. And it was rhythmic. And so I was like, okay, this is really weird. And because the rhythmic meant something, because now I know it was in the valve train, something with intake. And the other thing about the rhythmic reading, it eliminated rings. It eliminated the valve seat, because of rings, you get a low, steady kind of reading. And on a valve seat, it would be a little more of just kind of a loss, but not. It would never get full vacuum, because it would just be not being able to seal properly. So I started with my carburetor just because maybe there was something going on there, and I took it off and nothing. Then I started checking for vacuum leaks, and you do this by spraying water on connections on the engine, or carb cleaner or WD-40, anything, and you see if the idle changes. And this is where I got for the point of didn't find anything that way. I pulled the plugs, and on number 6, it was full of oil. There is a massive clue. So I put a camera in there. Nothing looked out of space, but it was full of oil. Have no external vacuum leak, sucking oil. There's only one place that could be, the intake manifold gasket. What had happened is on number 6, the bolt was not holding tight. It was not holding pressure on the intake manifold. It backed off just enough for oil to seep up in between the manifold gasket and the manifold. So there you go. I just had to change the intake manifold gasket, figure out a good way to re-thread the thread in the head, and it was all fixed. Basically, I didn't have to do a valve job. I didn't have to do a ring job. No, I just had to do an intake manifold and fix a bolt hole. Now the car pulls clean up to 6,500 RPM. Here's what I suggest you use this. Every time you do a tune-up on your Classic, before you touch anything, hook up a vacuum gauge first and take a baseline reading. Now write it down in a notebook, put it in your phone. Just keep a copy of that reading, because that is like your engine's fingerprint at that moment. 6 months later, do it again. You know, if the numbers drop, now you have a data point to be able to figure out where something has changed, and you're not just guessing. Second thing, if you're buying a Classic car, the first tool I would use is this before you even drive it. First, do it on cold vacuum, because you want to see really strong vacuum at cold start, because it's running rich. It should be pulling hard at cold start. And then as it gets warm, keep an eye on it. You know, you'll know more about that engine in 20 minutes than the seller has known in years. All right. So what do I actually recommend you buy? Because you can't get this anymore. Harbor Freight has one for $20, the Pittsburgh one, and it's perfectly fine. And I also recommend the Lizzle 2300 vacuum and pressure tester. It's on Amazon. I mean, this is a quality, I believe, American-made tester for under $35, and it has a very clear gauge. It is really one of the better types of gauge you get, and it's only a few dollars more than something bought at Harbor Freight. In both of these actually do fuel pressure and vacuum. So what you do is you tee this into your pressure line, your fuel line, after the pump, and this inside number, because the black needle goes like this, that tells you your fuel pressure. Good stuff right there. Now, I'm not getting paid for this recommendation, but there they are below. It's just what I recommend. And look, this isn't a complicated tool. It doesn't take years to master. Once you know 4 or 5 basic readings, you'll be diagnosing problems in 15 minutes. That other guys are going to be taking months to do and throwing parts at the car. And that's the whole point. So what's the one tool every Classic car owner should have? A vacuum gauge. $25 saves you hundreds and hours. If you got a great story about diagnosing a problem the hard way before you had the right tool, vacuum gauge, I want to hear it. Drop it in the comments below. Also, give recommendations. Why not? Let's help each other. These stories and comments are gold, and they help the community learn. And if you know somebody with a Classic car chasing a problem, share this with them. This might save them an entire weekend and a lot of hair pulling. Thanks for watching, and if you have something cool or something fun, take it out. It'll make your day, and I'll see you in the next one.